Well, it's a real honor to be here today. Thank you for joining us. It's actually a great opportunity for us in Minnetonka to sort of pay it forward because this program you'll hear about today, VANTAGE, we learned about at an AMSD conference much like this. I believe it was maybe 2009. Pam Langseth, one of our board members who's here today, was in the audience and heard a presentation from some folks from Blue Valley Public Schools down in Kansas City. So if you're familiar with the Kansas City area, Blue Valley is a great school district, growing district, and they had developed a program called CAPS. And it really aligned with some work that we were doing in Minnetonka. And so when we heard from Pam about this program, that led us on a journey that we'll get into here in a bit. But I just want to put some context to this discussion, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say, it's an honor to be here because I know all school districts are engaged in college and career readiness. So every district here in this room and beyond has something that they're doing that's really focused on providing opportunities for kids in this area, and I'm sure now more than ever before. So we're honored to be selected. We're very excited about the VANTAGE program, and we definitely see it as a scalable, transferable program. And so if you hear something here today, we obviously won't have enough time to really go into the kind of depth that we'd like to go into, but we'd love to spend some time with districts that are interested in taking the next step, and we'd love to share a lot of the lessons that we've learned along the way. Just a couple housekeeping points that I submitted the slide deck a couple weeks ago. We presented this in Atlanta, and it was a 90-minute window. So I apologize. We only have about 30 minutes here today, so I took a lot of the slides out since that deck was sent to you. I did just tweet out the updated deck. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm the Edutonka. That's got the recent slide deck. I didn't add any new slides, I just took away several. So the one you've got in your packet's fine. You'll just wonder why I'm not talking to every slide that you've got. Try to help you out as I skip forward. So that's one point. I'll just also just say that attached to my Twitter feed is my blog, and I oftentimes will blog about VANTAGE. And so if you want to get a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stories as they go, that's one place to find those. We also have a director of the program, Chris Pears, who's not here today because there's a very special guest instructor at VANTAGE today. So he would have loved to have been here. You've got the junior varsity here with my friend Jeff Erickson, the high school principal, and myself, because Chris, as the director of the program, is really doing a fantastic job. So we'll try to do justice to the work that he's been doing. So I'll stop there. As I kind of introduce this program, VANTAGE, I'll say that I was a high school principal for 6 years, and I've spent most of my 22, 23, 24 years in education really working with high school kids. And what I've loved about this program is that it does what I always felt as a high school principal or teacher, is that our juniors and seniors are capable of so much more than what we've been able to offer them. Even AP and IB coursework, as rigorous and challenging as those things are, it's still within the confines of the traditional high school. And our kids are hungry to go beyond those walls. And that's really what VANTAGE has done, is really torn down those walls and placed students out in those professional environments where they aspire. And that's really the magic of this program. And if you take anything away, I hope that's what it is, that we've got these kids out in the community working in areas that nobody would imagine they could work at this level, but they're doing it. They're doing a fantastic job. You'll hear from them later on. We've got a couple of really nice videos that we'll share with you. So I do want to say that. And there are many aspects of this story that we're not going to be able to get to today. At this point, we're in our second year of VANTAGE. We've got a roadmap for year 3 and beyond that we're just not going to have time to touch on today. That's maybe for another presentation somewhere down the road. There's also quite a story here about the journey to get to launch, and we'll touch a little bit on that today. But really, there's again an hour at least of content there. A lot of it involved going down to Blue Valley and really working closely with that school district. So, we leaned heavily on those districts that had already done this kind of work. And again, that's why I invite any of you who are interested in this, trying something like this, to lean on us. I'll talk a little bit today about really the 30,000-foot view, what I call the culture of innovation that we've been growing in Minnetonka, because I really believe, and Jeff mentioned it earlier, talked about that staff mindset. That folks can really, especially in our profession, struggle for the permission to color outside of the lines. And I think a lot of the success we're finding in our culture of innovation, a lot of these new ideas like VANTAGE are really finding success because we've shifted the mindset of staff so that they're much more willing and comfortable embracing change. And that's something we've all struggled with in education forever. So that's just a little bit of a warm-up here. So I'll talk just briefly about innovation. I'll just take a few minutes and kind of go back to sort of the beginning. 2009, 2010, we started doing some book reading and an engagement of staff in what does it mean to make innovation happen. As you see, anybody familiar with this story? Just a fantastic, very simple, it's an allegorical tale. It's built on the premise of Animal Farm, so it takes place on a farm with talking cows and horses. So it's very easy, it's a very easy read, but the message behind it really gets to the heart of why innovation is so hard and why we actually really harm our innovators, because they're the ones thinking differently, and we don't want them to think differently. And so this really teaches us how to protect those folks when they and give them that safe environment to bring their ideas forward. 2011, we introduced a software program called Spigot, which is really a crowdsourcing software, and it allowed us to create this open innovation program. And we built a website. This is our Minnetonka Innovates website. This is a separate website from our district website. It's only an internal platform, so you can't reach it from a public view. And we would use this website and this open innovation program to invite ideas. So you see there's a little button at the bottom there that says post an idea. And we would run events where we would invite staff to submit an idea. VANTAGE came in our first year of running this event. It came to us from a couple of social studies teachers at the high school having lunch, talking about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? So I think it's a great story. Last year, our metrics, just to give you a last year's peak, we had 183 ideas submitted. We had 671 out of about 1,200 participants, so beyond 50% engagement in our staff. And that's beyond teachers, that's all staff. The folks at Spigot told us to be prepared for about 15 to 20% staff engagement, so we blew the lid off of that metric. We had it's like a social networking site, so people can comment on each other's ideas. Over 1,200 comments last year, 4,434 just logins, people going in and looking at what's going on. This is kind of messed up here, sorry, but we have an event called Pairwise where it's like a Pepsi-Coke comparison, one idea against another. We had 49,000 people votes that happened in that event, really just phenomenal numbers. So we knew we kind of turned a corner last year. Last year we also added a role at every school called Innovation Coach. And these folks not only support the events that we run, but they also guide the ideas as they move from just a submission into the website into an actual prototype that we're going to test. We also are big fans of Eric Reese's Lean Startup. In the business community, this is required reading. I think his workshops are ridiculously expensive to attend, but I really love this quote from Ryan Fried, who found it about me. It says, if you're interested in the living heart of what you do, focus on building things rather than talking about them. And that's really what our culture of innovation strives for, is let's build a prototype and test it really quickly and see if it makes sense. Whoops, I missed one there. It's a 3-stage model, which is very, very simple. You build the idea, you measure, and then you learn. And we always jokingly refer to this word pivot. We call it pivot. Other people might call it, screwing up and making mistakes, maybe mini fail. But we call it a pivot, and we learn and we turn. People use the word failure. In our business, it's got a bit of a negative connotation. So we don't use failure as much, but in the business community, they say fail fast, fail early, fail cheap, and learn. And so we do replicate that thinking. We also really look to a lot of different business sources to learn about innovation. And this book came out, this is the CEO of Pixar, Ed Catmull. It's a fantastic book talking about really unleashing creativity in your organization. You know, our folks, you guys all know, they're extremely busy. They don't have the luxury of time to be working on these projects. But you know, our job, as we see it in our innovation circle, is to really, you know, loosen the controls, accept some risk, trust our colleagues, work to clear the path for them, and pay attention to anything that creates fear. So really trying to unleash that creativity for folks in an intentional way. Jeff Bezos is just a great quote, which inspires us that I believe you have to be willing to be misunderstood if you're going to innovate. And you know, there's that goes back to that point that, you know, we really don't support our innovative thinkers enough. And Amazon's certainly a successful model for us to look at. Mark Zuckerberg started off Facebook with this motto, right? Move fast and break things. You know, the recent, whoops, this keeps moving on me. The new motto at Facebook, right? Move fast with stable infra, because now they're, what is it, $20 billion in value. So, you know, that's a little bit like us, I think, in the education world, is we want to maintain and protect that stable infrastructure. But we also want to move fast and support new ideas and really try to serve our kids as best we can in this rapidly changing world. So it's just a quick walk through our innovation process, and we're going to get into the weeds a little bit now on Vantage and give you some of the details of what that program is. It's it is a experience for our kids that happens off-site. So this does not happen at Minnetonka High School. This is a 2-hour or 3-hour program that happens in a professional environment, so it's off-site. It's only for juniors and seniors. It really integrates core content in a project-driven platform. So these teachers work very, very closely together to integrate their content in an area where the focus is really on the projects that come to us from our business partners. You know, and the business partner element of this is really, I think, probably the most interesting, and you'll see quite a bit of this in the videos that are coming, is that you know, these business partners are small local businesses, they're medium-sized local businesses, they're Fortune 500, Fortune 100. You know, we've got an amazing community here, and they want to be involved. What's been amazing for us has been really the way these business friends have just flocked to support this program. So I know you'd have the same experience in your communities with a similar type of program. So let me click this video.
Vantage is off campus. Vantage is experience.
Vantage is hands-on.
Vantage is so different than sitting in class.
Vantage is active.
Vantage takes initiative.
Vantage is opportunity.
Vantage is working with professionals on projects like Emerson Rosemount,
South Shore Center,
Ovation Salon.
General Mills.
In Vantage, I discovered I really
Love being an entrepreneur.
I'm really happy that through Vantage, I figured out that I don't want to be in business. So glad I learned that before college.
Vantage allows me to get out of school half the day, but still stay connected to the high school.
I see my friends in the afternoon while still being able to participate in sports and clubs.
Did I say I'm still connected with
Friends and activities at the high school.
In Vantage, I made new friends and made new connections.
Vantage is so different than sitting in class.
Vantage helped me start my own company.
Vantage is the future.
So if you have any interest in business, healthcare, interactive design, teaching, or broadcasting, log on to tonkavantage.com.
Sophomores and juniors apply today.
Vantage is my friend.
Vantage is colored pants.
Vantage is life.
Good morning, and just a few pieces about the students that you saw in this video. The last gentleman talked about colored pants. One of the projects that he worked on was the development of a clothing company and taking what he learned and actually is on the marketplace today. The profile of Vantage student is not necessarily the student who's at the top 10% of the class. Really, there's a wide range of students that participate in this program. Some have never taken an advanced placement course or an international baccalaureate course, but when they're in the setting of the applied nature, they find a connection. One of the biggest struggles that students will comment regarding Vantage is not necessarily what happens during the 2 or 3 hour chunk of time that they're there and having the two courses that are happening in an interdisciplinary way. It's when they come back to the mothership, to the high school, and they go back to learning in a traditional 56-minute period, and where it's just one particular content area. So they struggle with that. But we look at really a wide range of students. There's an interview process that happens, but it's not necessarily looking at their academic record. It's looking at their ability to connect with others, their interpersonal skills, and their desire to grow, not only academically, but I know we talk about the phrase soft skills, but really to develop those skills and to be able to work with professionals in the business world. So it's really been a remarkable experience to see the different types of students that have found success. And some students prefer the traditional model of the high school, but for many, this approach has really opened doors into some areas that they've not yet been. So Eric's going to talk a little bit about the model of how the courses come together.
All right. So to get into the sort of detail here of the program, there are really 4 key elements, and the first of which I've already mentioned, and the kids have certainly made that very clear, that they are off-site in a professional work environment. That's 2 or 3 periods, depending on the course. Some of the courses are built with three periods, some are built with 2. For example, Business and Global Economy combines English Language Arts, Econ, which is actually Advanced Placement Econ, and then Business. So they get 2 graduation credits out of those 3, plus the elective. And you hear in that particular integration, the fact that they're high-level integrated content. So not all of our courses have AP and IB content, so it's a balance between the 2. But we definitely wanted to send a message to students that there's an academic challenge that you are accepting when you sign up for this program. We also have post-secondary articulation, so lots of work with our post-secondary friends. University of Minnesota has been very helpful, and others as well. Number 3, the local business partners that lend their expertise and assist with the elements of project workflow. Really important part of this program is students learn project management and project workflow. They're actually taught, it's part of the curriculum. They learn how to be a member of a team. And we all value collaboration, and we talk about that with our students, but in the work world, you will work on a team, and you will have a role that you'll have to play, and you'll be held accountable for that role every day. And so these students learn project management. They're assigned roles when they work on projects, and the expectations are very high that they come in every day prepared. And the last one, number 4 there, is that students receive graduation credit. I talked about that earlier, but it's not only that. There's also opportunities for college-level internships. That's a really important metric for us. How many of our students, once they go through this program where they're interacting with high-level senior executives from major Fortune 100 companies, or entrepreneurs who have started businesses in our community, how many of these students are able to do so well in the course that they're invited to a summer internship? And we've had students who've done that. In fact, we had a student accept an internship this last summer who was the only high school student out of 20 interns in the group, the only high school student in the entire group. So it was a real testimony to the skills that she brought to the table, and also it shows the power of our business partnerships that she was given that opportunity. So those are really the 4 what we consider key building blocks of the program. I've got one more video loaded up here, so let me touch that and let you see a little bit more from the parent, teacher, and business partner perspective.
This presentation is to go over our final recommendations for this semester-long.
You never would have known we were working with high school students. I would have guessed these kids had been working for 5-10 years in the workplace.
Just watching these kids, kind of the way they think and how they're able to apply their talent, I mean, it's really encouraging. It's
great to get a fresh perspective from a group of teenagers.
I'd say the quality of the work that was done by these students and the way that work was presented was on par with anything that we see from professional service providers, honestly.
The difference between this and the traditional school model, this is real-world applicable skills. Students learn today exactly how an annuity works, what the risk factors are with that, how you price that in the market. You don't get that back at the regular high school, and you certainly don't get it from the chief financial officer of one of the largest insurance companies in the world. There's also a degree of soft skills that are needed to succeed in business. You're needing to interact with adults on a professional basis.
The students' learning is differentiated by the guest instructor's lesson that they deliver in conjunction with us.
Aspire had a great experience working with Vantage. We worked with a group of students that did market research for us to come to some pretty important decisions regarding product development and marketing. The students helped us arrive at the decision to go with blue raspberry and orange. They did a lot of great research to arrive at that decision. We also, during this process, did a whole rebranding of the bottle designs that you see here. Everyone is so focused on this millennials generation. What better way to connect with and compel and really learn how to market to this group than to work directly with them?
I was a mentor this past fall and was working with a group of young people that were given the assignment to present a business plan to a series of cities actually to make better use of a community center. Whenever you get a chance to work with young people, in my experience, I always learn something from them and I get more out of it than I think I give them.
We gave the students an outline of what we were looking for, which was a series of new product ideas for our company. We started with an initial kickoff meeting in which we told them what the objectives were, and they really took it from there. I was impressed by how organized they were as a team. They set their own milestones for what they needed to accomplish along the way and communicated with me thoroughly along the way in terms of their progress. Some of the ideas that they brought to us were twists on ideas that our team may have thought about but not thought about in a while. Some of the ideas were brand new ideas that our team had not thought of at all. And having that fresh set of concepts coming into our business was extremely helpful.
At the end result, they had a one-page summary for us as here's how to possibly go about this in the future. Developing a model for us to, in the future, go into any particular geographic area, say a particular zip code, and reach out to find new clients. And it led to good results. This particular school has a unique program, utilize it to its fullest.
You are getting access to brilliant young minds in a very non-traditional kind of setting.
We're going to do it again next year because we had a good time doing it. I love meeting the students, we all did, and we really got a lot out of it in terms of our business.
It's great to help the students, but also observe their growth as they're struggling with real-world issues, challenges, problems that happen to be your own.
We're really making this real world every day, 5 days a week.
I would have loved to have had this opportunity in high school.
So whenever we talk about Vantage, and we're just going to go a few more minutes here and then we'll take some questions. I'm sure you've got plenty of them. We always kind of think of these 5 asks. And it's a nice mental anchor because I've got 5 fingers, so I'm able to just think of them just like that. The first one is curriculum consultation. That's really the first thing we start with. When we've got an idea for a course, first thing we look to is, where are the industry leaders and how do we get in communication with those folks? And we find someone who's willing to meet with us and we talk to them about what would this look like if we were to build a course that would meet the needs of this emerging trend in your industry. And so there's a kind of a flow chart there that talks about that process. We've had amazing help from folks at Deloitte. We're really instrumental. Target stepped in, Fairview. It's amazing once you start identifying an industry trend and saying, hey, if there's a gap in hiring in the future, these folks are very interested in working with us to build a pipeline. So this was our first ask that we would go with is curriculum consultation. Jeff's going to talk about the next 2. Well, I just snuck in a little snapshot of the curriculum integration chart. These are the kinds of documents we would create that would show the real complexity of integrating 3 courses around a concept or a theme. So just snuck that in for fun.
And a reference in the video they talked about guest instructors. So if you think of a traditional classroom, you might give your students a reading assignment. One of the courses in the business course is economics. So the night before in a traditional classroom, you need to read these pages for the following day. We're going to talk about those concepts, supply and demand, for example. The next day you might go to class and you might have varying levels of completion of that reading. And one of the things we've seen within Vantage is that next day, after they've done their reading and what other materials they need to prepare for that class, 3 days a week they're going to have a guest instructor talking about what they've read and actually applying it. And it's funny when I ask students, well, do you ever turn in work late or do you ever have any issues with that? And they say, well, no. Why? And I say, well, why wouldn't you? Why does that happen at the high school yet not here? Because they have these outside adults that are going to be expecting them to be prepared. And that's a significant expectation around this is you come to class prepared. And we see phenomenal results. And that idea of guest instructors, which really brings the application side. I happen to be visiting Vantage this day, and they were talking about supply and demand. And this is a particular employee from Cargill talking about it. So students were highly engaged because they saw the relevance and they saw the application of what they're learning in their class. Target came one day recently, and they talked a little bit about their supply needs, and they happened to compare against Sears that day and talked a little bit about that. So again, it's bringing that content to life into the application side. The other piece you saw in the video is the community mentor piece. Each student is assigned a mentor because while they're working on the coursework, they also have a project that they're working on. For example, you saw the Aspire beverage. One of the tasks was to design a new flavor, and they worked on that for the entire second semester. But along the way, each student has this business mentor, or we also have a healthcare program this year that helps the student and gives them the feedback. And these students have had some phenomenal experiences. They've invited their student to their workplace on a particular day for training, so it develops that outside caring adult who's really investing in their work. So that has been a significant aspect of the program.
So in the typical student day, school day for Vantage kids, there's obviously quite a bit of the guest instruction that's happening. It's typically about 3 times a week they'll have a guest instructor. There's a lot of protocol around that. The students actually, they study up on the guest instructor. They present the guest instructor to their colleagues. There's one student who listens and then does the thank you at the end. All those, and again, I agree with this keynote speaker earlier who didn't like calling those soft skills. They're very important skills. They're the skills that can make the difference for kids in their future. So, our students who learn how to do that, in fact, we had a meeting with some folks from Ecolab, and they told us that was the #1 frustration they had with their new hires is their unwillingness to step forward and speak in meetings. They were so intimidated by the folks with 20 and 30 years of experience around the table that they wouldn't share their ideas, when really that's what an employer has hired you to do, right? So partner-led projects is a really important feature. This is what happens when we don't have a guest instructor in the room with the students. They're working on these partner-led projects, and it's a little hard to read this text, but this is where we've started off with curriculum consultation. We've expanded out to this network of guest instructors. Then we expand out again with our mentors. So now we're at a group of 150 plus business partners and friends. Well, now with the partner-led projects, now we really turn back to the inside and see who are those industry business partners who've been most engaged in this development process. We reach out to them for a project. And this is a developmentally appropriate project, something that juniors and seniors in high school can handle, but it's got enough of a stretch where they can grow and learn. So Aspire Beverage is a new beverage company. They're trying to compete with Gatorade. They're obviously very interested in the teenager market, so they gave us a project to help them develop 2 new flavors. And you heard John Montague there talking about that they went with the 2 that the student team recommended, which is a great thrill for those kids. It's actually on the shelves in the grocery stores now. So it's real world projects these kids are working on. And again, they add great value to the business partners because these folks are marketing to young people. They want to know what young people are thinking. And so it adds a lot of value in their world as well. So you can see here that we identify those projects. We meet with those project partners to really clarify terms of satisfaction. We've had partners who've wanted to give us projects that are way beyond what our kids can do, and we have to scale that back a little bit and make it a reasonable set of expectations for our kids. We show our partners our project management workflow training handbook that we developed with the help of the folks from Deloitte. It shows we're very serious about this idea of project workflow and management, and so we try to set expectations along those lines. And then the student team there, it says at the bottom, student team is assigned to the project with clearly assigned roles and expectations. And I can't emphasize that point enough. If you ever met a student from Vantage, they will tell you exactly what their role is on the project team. Director of finance, director of marketing, and they will be able to tell you exactly what contribution they're making to their project. It's very, very important. So that's ask number 4. Now here comes the big one, host partner. And you may be asking, where are you doing this offsite? And right now we're in a leased space, a leased office space that's just down the road from the high school. But we do have a vision for this program that our business partners who are really invested in what we're doing will offer to host a Vantage course on their campus, their professional campus. That's our roadmap, so to speak. And as we're in our 2nd year, planning out for our 3rd year, I definitely see our business partners are becoming more and more invested in the success of this program, and I do believe that offer is coming. Can't say when, but I do believe it's on the horizon. So So those are the 5 asks, and I know we may have just a minute or two here before we shift to questions. So I'll just I'll throw out the 3-legged stool here, because this is, you may be wondering, you know, how do we come up with these course ideas? You know, how do we put this together? And I really think of this 3-legged stool, which is first and foremost, we look at industry trends. So for a Vantage concept to make it to the next stage of development, it has to demonstrate that there is a lack of trained professionals in this area of the job market. So an emerging industry trend. Number 2, very important, we need to have a teacher on staff who's got some level of interest or expertise in that industry. It's very hard to put a square peg in a round hole on this particular item. If we don't have a teacher who has that passion or interest or skill set or some semblance of a professional network, then it's going to be a really steep climb. So teacher expertise is critical. And the third, really probably most important leg of the stool is student interest. If we're not putting an idea forward that has student interest, then, you know, obviously you folks know it's not going to run. And a good example of that would be right now we're developing a food science course. And you can think in the Twin Cities, is there a better market for food science? I don't think there is. We've got Cargill, we've got General Mills, Target's got Archer Farms. You know, we've got huge food science opportunities in this community. And we've even got a teacher with great skills and interest there. So we were lucky. We're on the first 2 asks. But the third one, do we have students who are passionate about food science? That one's been a struggle for us, and we're not sure if this course is going to run, because we don't know if we've really touched an aspect of student interest that's going to draw enough student interest in the enrollment process. So, you know, that's something that is top of mind for us as we start to develop courses. And you know, right now we've got 3 courses running in our year 2. We envision 8 courses running next year. We've tripled enrollment going into this year, and we anticipate tripling our enrollment again for next year. So it's on a very, very healthy growth trajectory. Obviously, lots of growth challenges, but you know, the outpouring of enthusiasm from students, from parents, from business partners in the community, it's really been a win for the school district in a lot of different ways. So let me stop there, and we'll take some questions. Mentor Connection. Yep, 287 has Honors Mentor Connection, which is a great program, but it's much more focused on individual student relationship with you know, an industry expert or mentor. And you know, that serves the needs of a handful of students really well, but we're really looking for a way to serve a larger number of student needs, and not only serve more kids, but also develop this idea of project management, project workflow, the idea that you're going to work on a team someday, and to learn those skills now is going to really, you know, pay off. In fact, Jeff was joking with me earlier that, you know, in a way, with Vantage, we're not preparing kids for college. We're really preparing them for after college, because they'll go to college and sit in a room and listen to a professor for 4 or 5 years. But when they get out into the career of choice, the field, they'll be put on these project teams. So that's for us. It's, you know, Honors Mentor Connections meets a need for a smaller group of students, and it's a little bit of a smaller footprint. Great program, but Vantage really seeks to serve a larger number of kids. What we try at this early stage, and again, it's early in our growth trajectory, so we don't hold the same expectation for student-teacher ratio as we do for our traditional master schedule, but our target for a 3-period course is 50 students. Our target for a 2-period course is 30, and that'll grow, but at an early stage, that's really how we set our targets. You know, our big worry is what happens when we go to the other end and we go beyond our traditional student-teacher ratio, because these projects are very hard to manage. And it's a lot of work for these teachers. I'm not emphasizing that point enough here, but our teachers in this program work incredibly hard. You know, so, you know, that's kind of our student-teacher ratio. And you know, when it comes to enrollment, you know, it's quite a puzzle, because, you know, as you guys all know, building a master schedule is a complex process, and you know, we try to engage our students early. Right now, we're marketing to kids on the course options for next year. We'll engage them earlier than, you know, the typical registration process, and we'll try to identify which kids, you know, are really serious about the program, and try to get that process moving about a month or 2 before the regular high school process begins. I'd say we have a director of the program. Again, this is in year 2 now. We didn't have that in year 1 or in the planning year. But now we have a full-time director. And then, the teachers are teaching in the program teach there in the morning, but then they teach back at the high school in the afternoon. So they have a semi-normal schedule. I believe we've got 10 teachers right now in the program with 3 courses running. A couple of them teach 2 different courses within Vantage, so it's a bit of a split schedule for them. But if you look at their student-teacher contacts, it's probably lower than some of the other teachers in the traditional high school. But again, that's, I think, part of it being in the first years of its development. Those numbers will match up. But the key staffing issue is the director, and that person is set aside from student contact, and yet he jumps in and teaches quite a bit. So we try to get him out of there, but he's supposed to be running the program.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for coming today.